One time my grandma was making, what color was she making? Oh, she was making purple. She was making purple now. And she used to just use little cans. Here I use a real big pot. Just a little jam can she used to use, and she could dye really lots. It turned out fuchsia. It was really nice shade. Like a bundle at a time she'd put it in. I want some too. It did all come out the same color. She really knew how to dye. And I went over to my sister-in-law. I went over to tell her my grandmother is dying. I said to her, what's wrong with her? She said, she's dying. She wants to know if you have any grass you want dyed. I said to her, I thought she was dying.
This is going that way. It's got to go in the opposite direction. That's turned that way and it comes around this way. That way. So do your girls always at the computer? See, because you need to do something with your hands. You girls always want to do something with your hands. It's because you miss cedar bark. There you go, and you keep on going until that's what you want. If they've done it out of cloth and they've done it out of leather, you can make it out of cedar bark. And I could make it better out of cedar bark because I'm a weaver. When I started weaving, I was 16, and my son was born. Yeah, and that's the first time I learned how to weave. There was always something missing. I've tried every art. And I think it's because we came from a long line of weavers. Our ancestors and always wove in our family. And there was always some piece of me missing till I found the cedar bark. And I had my son. There's always hope.
You know, they watched me. They grew up watching me since they were all of them babies. They'd be in their little chair. And I used to say, don't cry, don't say anything, I'm weaving. And they used to look at me, okay. They were all real good babies. But I know they watched me, and I used to make sure I took them to, when I was teaching in classes. They used to come with me to work. So they grew up watching it, and like it's a part of it's a part of me, it's a part of them. I want it to be. And so when my daughters weave, they're just to see them interested. It's our culture. I know it's my mother, my grandmother. I remember seeing them, and I know that's one of the reasons I weave, because I grew up with it and helped them doing the harvesting.
That's the first processing of cedar work, is pulling the bark.
So when was all of this logged?
Oh, it's constantly being logged. I'm not too sure of the exact dates. I mean, there's stuff coming out, like you just saw the one log the truck coming out. Some people go higher, some people go lower. Have their special spots they go to. I just find a spot where there's some cedars and go find some.
Well, you go out in the spring, usually after the first real downpour. The bark is easier to peel off the tree. The sap's running in the tree. This is actually the inner bark. So you just take a cut on the tree and pull it, and it peels up the tree. Just keep pulling it till it falls down, peels like when you're peeling a banana.
You cut the bark, you cut a little strip on each side. Look where there's no branches, that's where you strip, not just anywhere.
That's enough.
And you put your hand in there.
And how do you know how much to take?
I always go by my hand, not more than my hand. I could take another inch there, but I try to always be sure not to take too much, not to be greedy.
If you just pull it like this, it'll split. So you have to pull it this way.
It's pretty thin. It's gonna not go very far by the looks of it. I always start at the top and bend it like that and get underneath the bark, and then you do this.
Right now on the tree, when it's so wet, this is why we pull now, is eventually it turns into like a glue. It dries out and it's really hard to pull. I've been told that pulling cedar bark's women's work too, and I'd say at least half the people I know that pull cedar bark now are male. And if there's some old woman who wants cedar bark, she can't go out in the woods and get it herself. I don't see anything wrong with the male going out and getting cedar bark. So some of the cedar bark that I pulled today I'm going to give to my mother, who's taken a basketry course. She couldn't get out here and climb down this guck to get down here and pull cedar bark herself. Sometimes you go out and it's nice just to get away and be by yourself in the bush for the day. It's a pretty good feeling. And other times, you know, it's nice to go out and hang out, and especially if you're going out with some older person who knows a lot more than I do and they can share and I can learn from them. That's a pretty cool experience too.
Martin, what I want to show you is this. When you tie it, I always do this. Pull it a little ways. This is pretty stiff. And fold it inward.
Put a break in it.
Like that. Fold it in. It doesn't matter if it breaks at this point down here. So we're folding it in. You don't have to tie it much. It's just going to pull. Okay, go ahead. You'll have to get over there. It's not going to go far, but it's going to. When we're in the bush and we're taking away from the forest, taking something home, what we're going to use, eat, clothe ourselves, use in ceremony or whatever, it's important for us to always leave something, not to be thinking that we come here and we have a right, some kind of right to just take. And what I saw when I was growing up, when I was picking bark with older people, they always brought food with them or pennies, copper, and they said to leave something. So I'm going to leave this here. Leave it on the ground. And say, Tle ko, u shiak shitlats.
And it's such a neat feeling to pull bark. When we're pulling the bark, it just seemed to come down like in big slow motion waves. It was so high up the tree.
But I've always taken my kids out harvesting. She knows how to harvest, collect the bark and the grass. Oh, I've been weaving for over 40 years. We had to learn by watching. My mother was always weaving, and where we lived was very isolated. Oh, there's a story there. Long ago, there used to be a boat, mail boat that went by the west coast, and government quit that boat about 50 years ago, maybe, and they moved our reserve from right on the coast to where it is now, road accessible, Malacan Reserve, where everybody lives now. My dad refused to move, so he didn't care if they were getting electricity and running water and plumbing. He wanted to stay at home, at his home. So we lived there by ourselves, one house. I remember weaving by coal oil lamp because we didn't have electricity. And my father, I remember him saying, "Go to bed, weave in the morning." And then in the morning I'd hear, "Get up, wheel it, kadooks." I'd say, "Get up and weave." Actually, I remember being shy of it, of being able to weave. I wasn't, we'd hide it. It was the old people that did that. And I used to always say that, yeah, that's exactly, it's the old ladies. The old ladies weave. And that they ask too if do you know the designs in your head? And that's what I used to say before too. Just the old ladies know it in their head. But now that I'm learning to have them in my head, I quit saying that. Because I mean, after you do it so many times, but I always do whales, canoes, mostly whales and canoes, and because that's our ancestors were whalers.
And it's got a whale and a canoe and lives. This one was.
It's from Mabel Taylor.
Mabel. But don't talk too much.
Well, you want to take the limelight, do you? Anyway, this basket here is very old, and it was given to me by Mabel Taylor. It's a Shawsip. She in turn had it given to her from her mother, Emma David. So it's at least 100 years old, if not more. And the various designs on here, in the inside and outside, are patterns when she's making other baskets. This one was given to me in recognition of my title as a Heritage Chief of the Hoopers for First Nation, and she felt she had to give me something for being with her when she was doing her work and visiting her and everything else. That's why she gave it to me. But this one here I bought.
If you look at a grass basket, they have just random figures that, like, you don't even know what half of those are. Is that an alligator? There's a duck beside it, and so I'm thinking about making like a bigger cuff with just random pictures on it from the baskets, kind of relating to some of the baskets in the cupboard at home. And another design, I have a whaling scene bracelet is what I call it, that the whale is eating a canoe with a person on it that's harpooning it, and that's off of a grass basket in the cupboard at my house as well.
This was when I was still in my 20s, I think I got it, so it's pretty old. You can hardly see things my mom made. Rose coots from the Nuu-chah-nulth First Nation.
So the first design I made was the Thunderbird design, and it was off a grass basket that my great-grandmother Rose Coots had made. So that design means a lot to me because it's made by my great-grandmother. It has significance, it has history, and is in a new form, and that can be passed down again.
It's going to be a bird resting on an arrow. It's going to be like this. Just a minute. It'll be something like this. And the tail will come out like this. It'll be something like this. This is roughly showing you. Do you see? It's the way it's the top part of it here, what I'm showing you here, this top part here. All the designs I put on my work, it's all in my head. I don't use a pattern book. I learned everything I know from my grandmother. My sister knew how to. May, she knew how. The first basket she made, she had an airplane on there. And my granny was saying, ooh, she said, she told her you don't put that kind of a design on basket work because it's mamasne. And when tourists saw it, oh, this is so cute, they bought her basket right away. She knew how to make the baskets, whereas I just made the doilies. And they thought it cute. She had an airplane on there. It was her own design. She had no pattern. She sold it right away, and my grandma told her to make another one. Put more matuk on there. She was singing, it's called matuk, airplane. It's called matuk.
My mother was a basket weaver. That's how I started basket weaving. Learned from her, and that's the most important thing for me since I've been sitting in this wheelchair, because I can't make money like I used to. I only can sit here and weave the baskets, because I don't like living on welfare or anything.
Sometimes it's lots of orders coming in, and I just can't keep up, and then sometimes it goes real slack. But I still continue weaving. I was told, why don't you get your own computer and put your work on email and stuff, you'd get lots more. And who'd do my work for me? I said I'd be busy trying to learn the computer.
When I pick up a basket, when I start making it from bottom to top, I can't sleep until it's finished, until I see the finished product. I get obsessed.
It's really, I don't know if addicting is a word for weaving, but when you pick it up, you don't want to put it down. It's hard to put down.
This is just a minor amount I have. I have lots of this put away. There's some in the other room too. And this bark, it's the inner bark of the red cedar. I learned the basic weaving when I was 5 years old. My mom died when I was 3 years old, and my grandma took me over, and she did a lot of the weaving. I'd watch her, and finally she started a little doily for me. She'd put it like this. Instead of flat, she'd put it down like this. She'd put it by the door. When I come in, she'd tell me my work was crying after me. That was, in other words, not in so many words, but telling me I have to stay home and work, and which is tedious, sitting hour after hour. But if you want to get your work done, you have to sit. Doesn't matter how long you sit there. You want to get it done, you have to sit and work on it.
I enjoy it, especially when I get to the design. It seemed to be taking real long, and then I started the design, and I forgot all about time. And you forget about time.
Non-stop. I stayed up for 4 days. Non-stop. I was weaving. I missed it so much, and that's what the thought that went through my head was Cedar was crying for me, was calling for me, because it's a healing for me.
I will do it enough to remember and pass it on. When I first started my basket, I couldn't stop. I wanted to see it done. I wanted to see what it would look like done. My mom just laughed at me because that I was so hooked with it.
Gives us a calming feeling and strength.